welcome. You're watching this brand new show, News Connect on DD India. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and in the next 1 hour, we'll get you all the top trending national stories, international stories, and everything that you want to see for all the sports lover. All that and much more on News Connect. But first up, let's roll the headlines. Prime Minister delivers opening remarks at the 6th Governing Council meeting of NITI Aayog through video conference. Says the basis of the country's progress is cooperative federalism, stresses on the importance of making the state self-reliant, and also underlines need for strengthening businesses, MSMEs and startups. After successful disengagement from both northern and southern banks of Pangong Lake, India and China hold 10th round of Corps Commander level talks on the Chinese side of the line of actual control in Moldo. Disengagement from other friction points also on the agenda. Huge infrastructure push for the Northeast. Prime Minister Modi to visit Assam and West Bengal on 22nd of February will dedicate to the nation important oil gas projects and inaugurate as well as lay foundation stone for engineering colleges in Assam. Prime Minister will also inaugurate several railway projects in West Bengal. The United States officially rejoins the Paris Climate Agreement, reinvigorates the global fight against climate change as the Biden administration plans drastic emission cuts over the next 3 decades. U.S. climate envoy John Kerry announces the expected big change at a virtual meeting of the United Nations Association of USA. Texans reel under unusually harsh cold wave conditions as the entire state is blanketed white due to extreme weather since Sunday. Power outages, freezing pipelines add to the woes as people line up to receive water bottles. Landmark moment for Uriya cinema and a proud one for India. Neela Madhav Pandya's first Uriya film, Kaliratita, makes its entry into Academy Awards race in the general category for Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Director, among the other categories. The film showcases impact of climate change and how it impacts a man who lost his family and home to the sea. And in sports action, no stopping Naomi Osaka as the Japanese wins the year's first Grand Slam of the Australian Open, defeats first-time finalist Jennifer Brody 6-3, 6-3 at the Rod Laver Arena in Melbourne. And on News Connect, first up, Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the 6th meeting of the Governing Council of NITI Aayog via video conferencing today. Prime Minister said the basis of the country's progress is cooperative federalism, and today's meeting is to brainstorm to make it more meaningful and move towards competitive cooperative federalism. Prime Minister said the whole country succeeded when the state and the central government worked together during the corona pandemic. He also added that agenda points for today's meeting were selective, keeping in mind the highest priority of the country. The agenda of the meeting included deliberations on agriculture, infrastructure, manufacturing, human resources development, and also service delivery at grassroots level and health as well as nutrition. Addressing the delegates, Prime Minister underlined the importance of cooperative federalism for the nation and urged the states to imbibe the competitive spirit to bring out the best for the development of the nation.
कोऑपरेटिव फेडरलिज्म को और अधिक सार्थक बनाना, और यही नहीं, हमें प्रयत्नपूर्वक कॉम्पिटिटिव कोऑपरेटिव फेडरलिज्म को न सिर्फ राज्यों के बीच डिस्ट्रिक्ट तक ले जाना है, ताकि विकास की स्पर्धा निरंतर चलती रहे, विकास ये प्राइम एजेंडा बना रहे, देश को नई ऊंचाई पर ले जाने की स्पर्धा कैसे बढ़े, ये मंथन करने के लिए पहले भी कई बार हमने चर्चा की है। आज भी स्वाभाविक है कि इस समिट में उस पर बल दिया जाएगा।
Prime Minister also said that the initiatives launched by the centre worked well to enhance the lives of the nation's poor and downtrodden and reflected a phenomenal change in their lives.
हमारे देश के गरीबों को एम्पावर करने की दिशा में बैंक खाते खुलने से, टीकाकरण बढ़ने से, स्वास्थ्य सुविधा बढ़ने से, मुफ्त बिजली कनेक्शन मिलने से, मुफ्त गैस कनेक्शन, मुफ्त शौचालय निर्माण की योजनाओं, उनके जीवन में, खास करके गरीबों के जीवन में एक अभूतपूर्व बदलाव नजर आ रहा है। 2014 के बाद से देखें तो गांवों और शहरों को मिलाकर 2 करोड़ 40 लाख से ज्यादा घरों का निर्माण पूरा किया गया है। उसी प्रकार से पानी की कमी और प्रदूषित पानी से होने वाली बीमारी लोगों के विकास में बाधा न बने, कुपोषण की समस्याओं को वो बढ़ाए नहीं, इस दिशा में भी मिशन मोड में काम हो रहा है।
And Prime Minister also once again stressed on the immense importance of Atmanirbhar Bharat campaign, reiterating the call for self-reliant India, highlighting its requirements and benefits. The Prime Minister said that the positive response received on this year's budget has expressed the mood of the nation. The country has made up its mind, wants to move fast and does not want to waste any time. Prime Minister added that Atmanirbhar Bharat campaign is the way to develop an India that produces not only for its own needs but also for the world, and this production also stands the test of the world.
आत्मनिर्भर भारत अभियान एक ऐसे भारत का निर्माण का मार्ग है जो न केवल अपनी आवश्यकताओं के लिए बल्कि विश्व के लिए भी उत्पादन करे और ये उत्पादन विश्व श्रेष्ठता की कसौटी पर भी खरा उतरे। और इसलिए मैं हमेशा कहता हूं, जीरो डिफेक्ट जीरो इफेक्ट। भारत जैसा युवा देश, उसकी आकांक्षाओं को ध्यान में रखते हुए हमें आधुनिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का निर्माण करना होगा, इनोवेशन को बढ़ावा देना होगा, टेक्नोलॉजी का ज्यादा से ज्यादा प्रयोग करना होगा, शिक्षा कौशल के बेहतर अवसर उन्हें देने होंगे। साथियों, हमें अपने बिजनेस को, एमएसएमईज को, स्टार्टअप्स को और मजबूत करने की जरूरत है।
While addressing the delegates, Prime Minister Modi also reminded the stakeholders that the present circumstances have delivered an opportunity to the nation and it should work towards enhancing the ease of doing business and ease of living simultaneously.
आज विश्व में हमें एक अवसर प्राप्त हुआ है। उस अवसर को जुटाने के लिए हमारी कोशिश रहनी चाहिए ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस, और भारत के नागरिकों के लिए हमारी कोशिश रहनी चाहिए ईज ऑफ लिविंग। ग्लोबली भारत के पोजीशनिंग के लिए, भारत को अपॉर्चुनिटीज ग्रैब करने के लिए ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस का महत्व है, और उसके लिए हमारे कानूनों में सुधार करना होगा, व्यवस्थाओं में सुधार करना होगा, और देश के नागरिकों की आशा अपेक्षाओं को पूरा करने के लिए, उसके जीवन को सरल करने के लिए, ईज ऑफ लिविंग के लिए जो चीजें आवश्यक हैं उसको बल देना पड़ेगा।
Prime Minister Modi also urged the states to focus on value addition rather than being content with supplying the raw materials. He urged to focus on storage and processing of agricultural products to reduce its wastage. Prime Minister stressed the need to export processed foods rather than raw foods to increase profits.
हमारे हर राज्य की अपनी एक खूबी है, हर राज्य के हर जिले के पास अपना हुनर है, अपनी खासियत है। सरकार द्वारा देश को ये सैकड़ों जिलों के प्रोडक्ट्स को शॉर्टलिस्ट करके उनके वैल्यू एडिशन के लिए, मार्केटिंग और एक्सपोर्ट के लिए उन्हें प्रमोट किया जा रहा है। इससे राज्यों के बीच एक स्वस्थ स्पर्धा अभी प्रारंभ हुई है, लेकिन आगे बढ़ाना है। कौन राज्य सबसे ज्यादा एक्सपोर्ट करता है, अधिक से अधिक प्रकार की चीजें एक्सपोर्ट करता है, अधिकतम देशों में एक्सपोर्ट करता है, अधिक से अधिक मूल्य की चीजें एक्सपोर्ट करता है, और फिर जिलों में भी ये स्पर्धा कैसे बने और हम एक्सपोर्ट पर विशेष बल हर राज्य हर जिला कैसे दें। हमें इस प्रयोग को जिलों और ब्लॉक्स के बीच भी लेकर जाना है।
Okay, let's quickly go across to my colleague Arun. He's going to join us live on this broadcast to talk more about. Arun, if you could hear me, the big takeaways of the 6th meeting of the Governing Council meeting of NITI Aayog, and especially the opening remarks made by the Prime Minister. I think they were very inclusive and at the same time forward-looking, where Prime Minister not only talked about Atmanirbharta in various sectors, but basically a blueprint for the top priority areas in the near future and the year that has gone by.
Absolutely, and the opening remarks by Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to send positive signals in the investor community as well. Now, the focus, or if you look at the big takeaways, as you were asking, the big takeaways that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has appealed to the states and clearly said that there should be competitive, cooperative federalism, because we are entering in this new decade, we are entering in this post-COVID world. So there's a need, for a cooperative federalism. The feeling, the spirit of the Team India. This Team India spirit played an important role as far as fight against COVID is concerned, and to bring back economy back on track, to bring back economy into that double-digit number,
right,
to provide ease of living to the people of our country. There is a need for this, again, Team India spirit or a cooperative federalism. But talking about the investor's point of view, business point of view, first of all, the big message that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has given from this platform is that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has appealed to all the states primarily to reduce the regulations that they are having as of now. Because he clearly mentioned this point that in last 6.5 years, the center primarily has slashed or removed various regulations and laws that provides ease to the people of our country, that provides ease to the business community. So going forward, we can expect that the states will also reduce or bring down the regulations that they are having as of now. Number two, Prime Minister Narendra Modi clearly invited all these states to take advantage of various policies and policy level change that has been done by the center. For example, the corporate tax rate as of now is the most competitive corporate tax rate all across the world. So the states should take advantage of it. The national infrastructure pipeline that has been rolled out by the government, it's 100 lakh crore of national infrastructure pipeline. 40% of the stakeholders are the states. So how can states take advantage, maximum advantage of this national infrastructure pipeline? That also lies ahead in front of that. So the basic idea of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's important message is that on one side, in this post-COVID world, we have to focus on two aspects. That how can we provide a conducive environment to the business community, to the investors, so that they can make in India, they can make India self-reliant. So on the other side, the focus should also be on the citizens of our country as to how can by various initiatives like Awas Yojana, Swachhta Abhiyan, and various other initiatives that have been taken in last 6 years, that gives ease to the people of our country. So ease of living and ease of doing business. Two important messages, given to states, and Team India spirit is really the fulcrum or the soul of this entire meeting primarily.
Very quickly, a quick perspective on the way Prime Minister talked about the states, their contribution, and how they can actually add in more, go beyond what is expected of them in the spirit of cooperative federalism. A bit of a perspective on that as well, Arun.
Absolutely, Sakal. So what our sources are telling us of now that most of the states in this meeting, we know this fact that a lot of discussions were held as far as agriculture sector is concerned, infra sector is concerned, manufacturing for that matter is concerned, health and nutrition sector is concerned. So most of the states have come out with the best practices that they are having as of now, number one. Number two, what are the challenges that they are facing as of now in this post-COVID world, and how can center help states in the matter? These are the matter that primarily were discussed in this meeting. That's what our sources are telling us.
Okay.
And what primarily the states can learn from other states as far as best practices are concerned. For example, states, there are various states that are providing conducive environment to the business community or investors, whereby there are less windows for approvals as far as states are concerned. So how can other states can attract investment and can learn from other states? That is something that was discussed on this in this meeting primarily. So the basic idea was that ease of living and ease of doing business, and how can one state can learn from another state. That is what the basic idea. And as Prime Minister Narendra Modi clearly focused upon various sectors like agriculture sector, that how can agriculture community,
Yes.
which was primarily a bright spot even during the COVID pandemic time, giving a growth rate of in the positive territory. So how can further reforms be brought in as far as agriculture sector is concerned?
Okay.
How can farming community primarily can be given a better infrastructure? So these were the prominent discussion point that held in this meeting.
Okay, basically manufacturing sector, human resource development, service delivery at the grassroots level, very important, health and nutrition. Arun, we're going to come back to you in a bit. Meanwhile, thank you very much for joining us for those quick fire points on that important story. And now let's move on and talk about the other big story that we are tracking for you on News Connect. India and China are holding 10th round of core commander level talks on the Chinese side of the line of actual control in Moldo. And as we speak, the meeting is underway. We're given to understand that the two sides are reportedly discussing disengagement from other friction points after disengagement from both northern and southern banks of Pangong Lake. The disengagement process of troops of the Indian Army and China's People's Liberation Army from the actual line of control or line of actual control was reached after sustained negotiations both at the military and at the diplomatic level. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, in fact, had said that India's strategy and approach during disengagement talks with China are based on guidance of Prime Minister Modi that India will not allow an inch of its territory to be taken by anyone. Meanwhile, the disengagement process between India and China and Eastern Ladakh has been completed at Pangong So. And after this pullback from both sides, India and China are discussing disengagement from other friction points as well. It may be recalled Defence Minister Rajnath Singh had announced in the Indian Parliament last week that the 10th round of talks would be held within 48 hours of the disengagement being completed on the north and south banks of Pangong So Lake. Let me quickly go across to my colleague Nandita Dagar, tracking the story very, very closely. Nandita, what are you hearing from your sources? 10th round of core commander level talk. Any headway being made and the broader agenda?
Well, last time, the last we checked, Sakal, the meeting was still going on. This 10th meeting between the core commanders of India and the Chinese PLA. Our Lieutenant General level officers talking to them on the disengagement of at Depsang, Gogra and Hot Springs. These standoff points or these friction points, after the first phase is over, as you rightly said, as the Defence Minister had promised in Parliament, and the Pangong disengagement is over, wherein the armoured mechanized forces have been pulled back. The troops from the north and south shores of Pangong have been pulled back, and also the heights at Rezangla, Richingla, Mukpari, etc. have been vacated. Also, the patrolling between Finger 4 and 8 has halted for the time being, has been stopped for the time being. As far as your question, why, what is happening and whether headway has been made, these are very tricky talks, Sakal, because Depsang is an area where that is where our and the Chinese perception of the LAC differ the maximum, and therefore this is the sector where there is the maximum territory which is disputed between the two sides, and India. Number two, it is also very strategic. This Depsang plain is a plateau which leads to Karakoram Pass, and if the Chinese and Pakistani armies collude, suppose hypothetically, then they can cut off our access to Siachen Glacier, because the Daulat Beg Oldie Strip and the DSDBO road, the Darbuk Shok Daulat Beg Oldie road, all lead up in this Depsang sector. So whether the proof of the pudding would be, will China walk the talk?
Absolutely.
In Depsang. And as of now, the meeting is still going on at Moldo, which is on the Chinese occupied side. Our delegation also includes our foreign ministry personnel. The agenda was Depsang primarily. If 10% of the agenda would be Gogra Hot Springs, 90% of the agenda would be Depsang, Depsang and Depsang. And that is something that is still going on. We obviously will hear from our sources once the talks are over. As of now, they are on the Chinese meeting hut, or that border personnel meeting hut. Our sources have told us, Sakal, that these meetings will are expected to last long.
Okay.
Not as long as 13 or 14 hours as they did in June, July and August.
Okay.
But certainly long, because time is, this is a very tricky issue, and the Chinese have been asked to, have been forced to relent after India did not budge from its
Absolutely.
position and from the heights. Also the action of 28th and 29th of August last year, where India turned the tables on China. That is
Yes.
something that has forced the Chinese PLA to come to the negotiating table and has affected the recently concluded first phase of disengagement.
Yes, finally culminating into that disengagement, the first phase, as you've rightly pointed out. Thank you very much, Nandita Raghav, for joining us. You keep an eye on those developments. We'll come back to you later in our subsequent newscasts as well. Thank you. Let's now move on to News Connect. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman is on a visit to Chennai in Tamil Nadu. While speaking during an event on budget organized by Chennai Forum, she said that budget is not limited to 5 trillion economy. It will take our economy beyond that.
You want a welfare state in India so that the poor are not left unattended. You want a welfare state in India which will immediately, as and when required, immediately address any distress and take care of the poor and the needy. But a welfare state again which will take care of health and education requirements, because those are things on which government will have to be present and do a good lot of work. But yet, money for all this has to come from your legitimate tax earnings. If tax earnings are not going to be given that kind of a boost, in the sense, if avenues for earning tax are not going to be widened, the allocations for these areas which I recognize for government's presence is not going to expand at all.
BJP National President JP Nadda will review organizational work of the party ahead of the assembly elections in various states. National General Secretary and National General Secretary of the organization will be attending these meetings. It is an important meeting ahead of the BJP's National Executive Meet that's going to take place on Sunday, which will be addressed by Prime Minister Modi himself. BJP is leaving no stone unturned in its preparations before assembly polls in states like West Bengal, Kerala, Tamil Nadu and down south, northeast Assam and Puducherry. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has reached Maldives as part of his 4-day visit to Indian Ocean nations of Maldives and Mauritius. Foreign Minister of Maldives Abdullah Shahid tweeted a photograph of him receiving the External Affairs Minister at their airport. India remains a key development partner of the Maldives. The visit will see fruitful discussions between the two sides. That's India and Maldives. And my colleague Amrit Pal, who is tracking it closely, joining us for more on EAM's Maldives visit. Amrit Pal, the importance and the significance of it, especially coming close on the heels of the Quad, and also most importantly, vaccine Maitri, because Maldives and Mauritius happen to be the key beneficiaries in that as well, is actually a talking point internationally. The world is talking about vaccine Maitri. How significant is this visit of our External Affairs Minister to Maldives and Mauritius?
Vaccine Maitri will obviously, Sakal, be an important part of the discussions that Dr. S. Jaishankar holds with President Soleh, the Defense Minister, the Economic Minister, the Foreign Minister, the Finance Minister, the Policy Planning and Infrastructure Minister. He's got a series of meetings lined up. The entire gamut of relationships will be discussed, but it's very important to understand that both Maldives, where he's reached today and will be there for till tomorrow, and also Mauritius, which he'll be visiting after that for another 2 days, are key maritime neighbors of India. They are very important from the point of maritime security in the Indian Ocean region, and also they hold a special place in our neighborhood first policy. As you rightly said, Mauritius was given 10,000 doses of vaccine, so vaccine Maitri has been the government of India has reached out to these countries under vaccine Maitri. but a neighborhood first. If you look last month, this year's first foreign visit of the External Affairs Minister was to Colombo. Now he's in Maldives and will be in Mauritius after 2 days. He's set to visit Bangladesh. So clearly the focus at the starting of the year on neighborhood first. And these two countries, Maldives especially being in the Indian Ocean region, becomes important from the point of security. As Prime Minister talks about Sagar, or security and growth for all in the region.
Correct.
So in the Sagar matrix, they hold a very important place. We've got ongoing developmental partnership with them, which will be discussed. As you know, we gave Maldives an urgent grant of $250 million, and then later gave another $500 million grant to Maldives. So there is for the Greater Malay Port Connectivity project. So there is a lot of developmental partnership in terms of economic recovery in the post-pandemic scenario, and from a strategic and security point of view in the Indian Ocean region. So this would be the focus of Dr. S. Jaishankar's meetings that happen today and tomorrow.
All right. Thank you very much, Amrit, for explaining to us the significance and the deliverables that we are looking at as far as EAM's visit to Maldives and Mauritius is concerned. And now let's talk about more news and updates on News Connect. Prime Minister Modi will be visiting Assam and West Bengal on 22nd of February. Prime Minister will be dedicating to the nation important projects of the oil and gas sector in Assam, which is in the northeast of the country. Let's take a look at Prime Minister's Assam itinerary. He will be inaugurating and laying the foundation stone of engineering colleges during the event. Prime Minister will dedicate to the nation many important projects, including I&D Max unit at Indian Oil's Bogaigaon refinery. This unit at Indian Oil's Bogaigaon refinery leverages the technology development indigenously by Indian Oil and R&D to produce a higher LPG and high octane gasoline yield from heavy feedstocks. The unit will increase the refinery's crude processing capacity from 2.35 million metric tons per annum to 2.7 million metric tons per annum. Now, its commissioning will also significantly enhance LPG production from 50,000 metric tons to 257,000 metric tons, and the motor spirit petrol production from 210 metric tons to 533 trillion metric tons. PM will be also dedicating to the nation Oil India Limited's second tank farm at Madhuban in Dibrugarh. Oil India Limited's secondary tank farm has been built for safe storage of about 40,000 kiloliters of crude oil and the separation of formation water from West crude oil. The rest 490 crore project, the rupees 490 crore project will also have a dehydration unit with an operating capacity of 10,000 kiloliters per day. Prime Minister will dedicate to the nation a gas compressor station at Hibida village in Makum, which comes in Tinsukia district. The gas compressor station at Makum and Tinsukia will increase the nation's crude oil production capacity by nearly 16,500 metric ton per annum. This is built at rupees 132 crore. The station comprises 3 low pressure booster compressors, 3 high pressure lifter compressors. In Assam also, Prime Minister will be inaugurating the Dhemaji Engineering College and laying foundation stone for Sualkuchi Engineering College. The Dhemaji Engineering College is the 7th governmental engineering college in the state of Assam and will offer BTech courses in civil, mechanical and computer science. And the Sualkuchi Engineering College, whose foundation stone will also be laid during Prime Minister's visit, will be built on 116 bighas of land at a cost of about rupees 55 crore. Well, that was all about Prime Minister's Assam itinerary. And now let's take a look at West Bengal, where Prime Minister, as we just mentioned, will be visiting West Bengal on 22nd of February 2021. This year, of course, he will be dedicating to the nation and inaugurating several railway projects in Hooghly in West Bengal. Now let's take a look at Prime Minister's West Bengal itinerary. Prime Minister will inaugurate the extension of metro railway from Naupara to Dakshineshwar and also flag off the first service on this stretch. 4.1 kilometer extension has been constructed at a cost of rupees 464 crore, fully funded by the central government, and this extension will ease out access to the two world famous Kali temples at Kali Ghat and Dakshineshwar for lakhs and lakhs of tourists and devotees. Prime Minister will inaugurate third line between Kalaikunda and Jhargram over the stretch of 30 kilometers of the 132 kilometer long Kharagpur Adityapur third line project of Southeastern Railways. There are 4 stations between Kalaikunda and Jhargram that have been redeveloped by constructing 4 new station buildings to ensure seamless movement of passengers and freight trains on an important Howrah-Mumbai trunk route. Prime Minister will be dedicating to the nation the doubling of Azimganj to Kharghat road section project, which costs about rupees 240 crore. Prime Minister will dedicate to the nation the 4th line between Dankuni and Buraipara, which is of about 11.28 kilometer stretch of Havra-Bardhaman cord line, and third line between Rasulpur and Magra, which is about 42.42 kilometers of Howrah-Bardhaman main line, which serves as the principal gateway to Kolkata. The third line between Rasulpur and Magra has been laid at the cost of whopping 759 crore, while the 4th line between Dhakuni and Buraipara has been laid at a project cost of rupees 195 crore. Moving on, the 16th edition of the Indo-US Joint Military Training Exercise Yudh Abhyas is underway at Mahajan Field Firing Ranges in the western sector of Rajasthan. It is an enriching experience for both the contingents, who learn from each other's rich experience in counter-insurgency operations. Besides that, the exchange of experiences in humanitarian assistance and disaster relief are also part of the exercise, and the objective of the exercise is to enhance trust between the two armies.
Thank you for having the American Army to join you as partners and guests for this wonderful exercise. We've learned so much from the Indian Army, and we've just enjoyed this opportunity to grow closer bonds and train and work together.
Moving on, Indian Navy's warship Pralay reached Abu Dhabi in UAE on Friday, that's yesterday, to participate in the Naval Defence Exhibition and International Defence Exhibition scheduled from 20th to 25th of February. INS Pralay is the second ship of the indigenously built Parabel class missile vessels. It was commissioned in Indian Navy on December 18, 2002. INS Pralay is capable of speeds in excess of 35 knots and is fitted with an impressive array of weapons and sensors. These include a medium and long-range gun and surface-to-surface missile. The ship, built indigenously at Goa shipyard, bears testimony to the capabilities of the Indian shipbuilding industry and will be showcasing the strengths of India's indigenous shipbuilding, in line with Prime Minister Modi's vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat. And now shifting focus to northeast. Mizoram and Arunachal Pradesh are celebrating their statehood today. Prime Minister Modi greeted the people of both the states on the occasion. Extending best wishes to the people of Mizoram, the Prime Minister tweeted, and I quote, "The entire nation is proud of the great Mizo culture. The people of Mizoram are known for their kindness and commitment towards living in harmony with nature, praying for the state's continuous growth." And also extending greetings to the people of Arunachal Pradesh on the special occasion of the statehood day today. Prime Minister said, and I quote, "The people of the state are known for their culture, courage and strong commitment to India's development. May Arunachal Pradesh keep scaling new heights of progress," unquote. People of Majoli Island on Friday celebrated by lighting earthen lamps and setting off fireworks to thank Prime Minister Modi for laying the foundation stone of a 2-lane bridge on the river between Majoli and Jorhat. Taking on to Twitter, Assam Chief Minister Sharbanda Sonowal said, "Majoli Bridge has opened new paths of progress for the people of the Bhakti Peeth." He quoted, and I'm going to quote that tweet, "Sacred Majoli lit up with celebrations in gratitude and affection. Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, your gift of the long-desired Majoli Bridge has opened new paths of progress for the people of Bhakti Peeth. Proud, thank you Modi ji," unquote. Sonowal tweeted while sharing a video on the celebrations. Now the earthen lamps were kept in a setting to write, "Thank you Modi ji." That's what you see on your screen. Union Minister for Forests, Environment and Climate Change, Prakash Javadekar, is on a 3-day visit to Lakshadweep. He visited Botanical Garden in Kavarati today. He said centre has given approval to several tourism projects to Lakshadweep. He also added that these projects would open new opportunities of employment in Lakshadweep and ultimately play a key role in the development of the Union Territory of Lakshadweep.
Lakshadweep लाखों जॉब्स तैयार करने वाला इकोनॉमी बनेगा और ये बढ़ेगा और इसका सुंदरता भी रहेगी, बढ़ेगी और उससे ज्यादा इसका जो आज जहां लोग बसते हैं वहां का जो सुकून है वो वैसा ही बना रहेगा। नए 3 आइलैंड्स डेवलप होंगे। आज तक पर्यावरण मंत्रालय परमिशन न देने वाला डिपार्टमेंट माना जाता था, लेकिन हमने बदल दिया मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में। हम सीमा पर होने वाले सड़क और सीमा से 100 किलोमीटर्स में डिफेंस के सभी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर्स उसको हमने जनरल अप्रूवल दे दिया। उसके लिए कुछ भी बंधन नहीं रखा, यह हमने करके दिखाया। वन पॉलिसी डिसीजन, नो फाइल्स एट मी।
Shifting focus to COVID numbers, India's present active caseload now consists of 1.30% of India's total positive cases. Country's total active caseload is pegged at 1,43,127 as of today, and some states are seeing an upsurge in daily new cases. There has been a rise in daily cases in Kerala, in South, in Maharashtra, in Punjab, in Chhattisgarh and in Madhya Pradesh. However, with the better healthcare infrastructure facilities and testing, tracking, treating method, more than 21 crore 2,61,480 tests have been conducted in the country. The cumulative national positivity rate has seen a consistent decline in the last 13 days. It presently stands at 5.22%. Now, a total of 1 crore 7,15,204 vaccine doses have been administered through 2,22,313 sessions as per the provincial report till 8 a.m. today. As on day 35 of the vaccination drive, total of 5,27,197 vaccine doses have been administered. Total of 1 crore 6,67,741 people have recovered so far. 10,307 patients have recovered and they got discharged in the last 24 hours. India's recovery rate with that has gone up to 97.27%. And remember, this is among the highest in the world. 80.51% of the new recovered cases are observed to be concentrated in 6 states. 18 states and union territories have not reported any COVID-19 deaths in the last 24 hours. Well, thick layer of fog engulfed Indian capital on Saturday, affecting visibility and daily life. Usually, fog is a common phenomenon during months of December and January, but prolonged winter season has brought the fog extending to the month of February as well. Now, Indian Meteorological Department has said that low pre-dawn temperatures combined with western disturbances, calm winds at night and precipitation in central and parts of northern India has led to fog in the month of February. Pollution levels were recorded in a very poor category in the morning in New Delhi, which improved a few hours after sunrise later. Fog was also seen in some other parts of northern India, affecting rail and road traffic on Sunday morning. And now let's move on to some top international news. The United States has officially rejoined the Paris Climate Agreement. The US rejoins the Paris Climate Agreement as it reinvigorates the global fight against climate change. The Biden administration plans drastic emission cuts over the next 3 decades. US climate envoy John Kerry took part in virtual events on Friday to mark the US re-entry. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said that the United States will try to make up for the lost time due to Trump's withdrawal.
I think we have to end the word climate change and own up to the fact it is the climate crisis now. And that's why President Biden submitted the paperwork to immediately rejoin the Paris Agreement as soon as he could, hours after he was sworn in. Today, as you heard and as you know, it is absolutely official. The United States is once again a party to the Paris Agreement. And I'm proud and pleased with that fact, but it also places on us a special responsibility. We rejoin the international climate effort with humility and with ambition. Humility, knowing that we lost 4 years during which America was absent from the table, and humility in knowing that today no country and no continent is getting the job done.
Scientists and foreign diplomats have welcomed the United States' return to the treaty, which became official 30 days after President Joe Biden ordered the move on his first day in office. Now, since nearly 200 countries signed the 2015 Pact to prevent catastrophic climate change, the U.S. has been the only country to exit. The then President Donald Trump took the step, claiming climate action would cost him too much, while Biden promised to chart a path toward net zero U.S. emissions by 2050. Meanwhile, UN Secretary General Guterres has welcomed the return of USA in the fold and said that we mark the United States' re-entry into this treaty, also recognizing its restoration in its entirety and its creators intended.
For the past 4 years, the absence of a key player created a gap in the Paris Agreement, a missing link that weakened the whole. So today, as we mark the United States' re-entry into this treaty, we also recognize its restoration in its entirety and its creators as its creators intended. Welcome back.
The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres also called on the developed world to share COVID vaccinations with poorer countries, warning that failure to do so could come back to haunt them. Guterres said that 75% of the vaccines distributed so far have been shared amongst 10 countries, describing the present situation as chaotic. However, he added that several countries had announced that they would share excess vaccines and that the US had pledged its support to the World Health Organization COVAX global vaccine sharing program. The coronavirus pandemic has swept across the globe, infecting over 11 crore 10 lakh people, more than 11 crore 10 lakh people as of now. US President Joe Biden has expressed confidence that the United States will exceed his goal of delivering 100 million vaccines doses in the first 100 days of his term in office. Biden has also allayed fears among Americans regarding the safety and efficacy of COVID-19 vaccine. And despite being optimistic, Biden also says that with new strains of the virus emerging, he could not commit to exactly when life would return to normal. Leaders of the G7 group have vowed to boost supplies of COVID-19 vaccines to the developing world. At a virtual G7 meeting on Friday hosted by UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, leaders increased their pledges to the WHO-led COVAX global vaccine initiative to $7.5 billion. The countries agreed to share surplus vaccines with the developing world, and US leader Joe Biden, speaking at his first big international meeting as the United States president, promised an extra $4 billion for the COVAX scheme, with $2 billion to be paid immediately. The US president also reaffirmed his commitment to fight climate change, creating what one official called a warm glow around the meeting and a renewed sense of optimism about multilateral cooperation. More international news. In the latest fallout from a crippling winter storm, more than 14 million Texans on Friday had to endure disrupted water service, leaving many longing for a hot shower just as the state's power grid jerked back to life after 5 days of blackouts. Texas Governor Greg Abbott confirmed that all power generating plants were online as of on Thursday afternoon. He urged lawmakers to pass legislation to ensure the grid was prepared for cold weather in the future. The governor lashed out at the Electric Reliability Council of Texas. It is a cooperative responsible for 90% of the state's electricity, which he said had told officials before the storm that the grid was prepared. In fact, nearly 24 deaths have been attributed to the cold snap. Officials suspect many more have died, but the bodies have not been discovered yet. Bitter cold weather, snow has paralyzed Texas since Sunday, shutting down much of the state's electricity grid and freezing pipes and waterways, leaving communities across the state either without water altogether or forced to boil it for safety. Monday was in fact the third coldest day since record keeping began with a statewide average temperature of minus 8.5 degrees Celsius as per records dating back to 1899. That same day, temperatures in the state capital Austin dropped below those in parts of Alaska. Hospitals in some hard-hit areas ran out of water and transferred patients elsewhere. Millions of people were ordered to boil their drinking water after water treatment plants lost power, which could allow harmful bacteria to proliferate. President Joe Biden has said he would accelerate federal emergency assistance for Texas and had directed his administration to identify other resources to help the state of Texas.
Annual winter assessment, which was designed to ensure the state is prepared, that assessment assured the public of Texas that there would be enough power to meet peak demand this winter. Now, what happened is ERCOT fell short on all three of these promises they made, which is exactly why that I have ordered the state legislature to investigate exactly why ERCOT fell short here and to make sure this never happens again. Listen, we know that you folks at home have faced struggles by going without power. We want to make sure that whatever happened in ERCOT falling short never happens again, even if it means the state stepping up, providing funds to ensure that all of the machinery that froze up and was unable to generate the power you need, that may require funding. The state of Texas should step up and provide that funding.
Well, heavy snowfall in Russia's Crimea and Krasnodar has caused transport congestion on the roads. Crimean weather services have warned that another snowstorm with gusts of 20 to 25 meters per second is expected on Saturday and Sunday. Earlier, a snowstorm hit the peninsula, prompting local authorities to warn people to refrain from driving on Kerch Strait Bridge. The temperature in the region dropped to minus 14 degrees Celsius, and according to the Russian Emergencies Ministry statement, the traffic resumed after the road was cleared. And a cloud of dust brought by dry winds from the Sahara has brought havoc to Senegal's capital Dakar, reducing visibility, choking residents and disrupting local businesses. The dust has brought life to a standstill in the region. This dust is part of the yearly phenomena known as the Harmattan season, which runs from November to March, and where dry winds sweep clouds of dust from the Sahara into much of the West Africa and the Gulf of Guinea region. Now shifting focus to Myanmar. In the recent update in Myanmar's protest, there has been a standoff against police and military in Myitkyina, which is in northern Myanmar. Thousands of protesters in Myanmar's capital, Naypyidaw, are marching today as they continue to join the civil disobedience campaign in protest against the military coup. Many local residents were seen holding signs calling for the immediate release of ousted leader Aung San Suu Kyi and the resentment against the military intervention. Meanwhile, in Yangon, protesters early this morning also painted a message that say, "We against military coup, we want democracy," on the road as a symbol of resistance against the military coup in the country. Protests against the February 1st coup that overthrew the elected government has taken place across Myanmar, with demonstrators skeptical of the military's promise to hold a new election and hand power to the winner. The demonstrators demand restoration of the elected government, the release of Suu Kyi and others, along with scrapping of a 2008 constitution, which was drawn up under military supervision, that gives army a major role in the politics of Myanmar. And shifting focus to Australian, the news coming in from Australia. Australia Prime Minister Scott Morrison has said that Facebook is back at the negotiating table after its decision to stop Australians sharing news and stripping the pages of domestic and foreign news outlets. Facebook's decision, which erased several state government and emergency department accounts, causing widespread anger in Australia. While Facebook has publicly indicated no change in its position, Morrison says the tech giant has tentatively friended us again, quote unquote. The standoff comes as Australia's vows to press ahead with landmark legislation, while the Facebook opposes amid concern it would set a global precedent.
What I'm pleased about is that Facebook's back on the table. They're back at the table. That's what we want to see. We want to work through this issue. And so I welcome the fact that they're back engaging with the government, as they should. And those actions were completely indefensible. I appreciate the apology that is being provided. But my job now is to ensure that we get on with those discussions and that we bring them to a successful conclusion. The Australian government's position is very clear.
And now we take you to the United States again, where scientists in Colorado have successfully cloned an endangered ferret. Black-footed ferret called Elizabeth Ann was born in December last year using frozen cells from another ferret. Scientists believe that these efforts to recover endangered species will help increase genetic diversity and disease resistance. This particular ferret was believed to be extinct until a Wyoming rancher discovered some near his property in 1981. Elizabeth Ann is a descendant of Villa, a ferret who lived over 30 years ago. New Zealand has begun its official rollout of Pfizer Biotech's COVID-19 vaccine. It's a small group of medical professionals. They were injected on Friday in Auckland ahead of the winter rollout, which was officially starting with border staff and managed isolation and quarantine workers today. New Zealand expects its nationwide rollout covering the country's population of 5 million will take a full year, while Australia aims to inoculate its 25 million citizens by October. New Zealand currently has over 2,000 COVID-19 cases and about 26 deaths reported so far. And from New Zealand, shifting focus to Indonesia, where severe flooding across several areas in Indonesian capital of Jakarta forced more than 1,000 people to flee their homes today. In south and eastern areas of the mega city, home to more than 10 million people, some 1,380 Jakarta residents were evacuated after floodwaters reached up to 1.8 meters high in some areas. Jakarta Governor Anies Baswedan said that the safety of people is top priority. The government has prepared evacuation centers to assist the people affected by floods. Floods also hit hard in Bekasi, which is a city to the east of capital that is considered part of the Greater Jakarta area, where rescuers waded through waist-height waters to evacuate people with rubber dinghies. Indonesia's Met agency has warned the heaviest rain of the season may fall in and around the densely populated capital in the coming days, with extreme weather conditions, including heavy rainfall, thunderstorms, strong winds expected throughout next week. And on to Australian Open action. Japan's Naomi Osaka defeated American Jennifer Brody in the Australian Open final to win her 4th Grand Slam title. Osaka is unbeaten in major finals after 6-4, 6-3 win in Melbourne. She edged the first set when Brody paid for some glaring errors in the final game. The third seed seized control from that point and also racing 4-0 or 4-love ahead in the second set before sealing a deserved win. Osaka has now won 2 Australian Open titles after also triumphing at Melbourne Park in 2019, with her other Grand Slam successes coming at the US Open in 2018 as well as 2020. She has not suffered a defeat since February 2020 after winning her past 20 matches. And some good news coming in from the world of entertainment. Indian regional language film in Oriya National Award winning director Neel Madhav Panda's first Oriya film, Kalaratita, has made its entry into the prestigious Academy Awards race in the general category for Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Director, among other categories. It is a landmark moment for Oriya cinema, and sharing this big moment and expressing his happiness, Neela Madhav Panda in fact announced it on Twitter yesterday, and I quote, "In a year full of challenges, I feel extremely happy to announce Kalaratita has made it its entry into the Oscar race in general entry category for Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Director and many other categories. It's being made available for Academy screening. Grateful to everyone." Unquote. In fact, the movie depicts impact of climate change, focusing on a man who lost his family and home to the sea. The film also emphasizes the harsh realities of climate change and rising sea levels. Earlier, the movie had been selected at the Indian Panorama section also at the 51st International Film Festival, which recently concluded in Goa. And with that, it's time to wrap up this edition of News Connect. From me and my entire team of News Connect, thank you very much for staying tuned to DD India. News updates continue as well as special programming on India's national news broadcast, DD India. Stay with us. Namaskar.